Hey everyone, so I want to share my labor and delivery story. If you're following me on my vlog channel, you have seen my labor and delivery video, but I didn't really get to talk too much about the whole process, and also we couldn't film some of it because I did end up having a C-section. So here I am, I'm going to be telling you guys an entire story from the beginning to the end. So it's been about a month and a half since I had my baby. Yeah. It's been a while. If you guys have been following my pregnancy updates, my baby was breeched, and he was breeched for a very long time, and we went in to get him turned by a doctor. That did not work. At one point he did try turning on his own, but then he just went right back to being breeched. My fiance and I tried a bunch of different things, yoga poses, hanging upside down, a cold pack, hot pack, so many different things. We tried everything to turn this baby around, but he did not want to turn. Anyways, my C-section was scheduled. That morning, my fiance and I woke up around, I think it was like 5 a.m. or something. I had the first C-section scheduled at the hospital. My mom actually dropped us there, thankfully. So we got there, you know, we signed in and everything, got into my room. I had to put on a hospital gown. Of course, you have to strip down butt naked with just your little hospital gown on. And then we kind of just had to wait for someone to come in to hook me up to do IV. I believe they monitored the baby's heart rate. They monitored me and everything. Anyways, so by the time they came to do the IV, a young lady came in. She did my IV. So she poked me once. She put the IV in, and then I started to bleed. Like, I started bleeding a lot. And that is not supposed to happen. And I was getting very upset because here I am, someone who does not like needles, and here you are messing up. Anyways, she pokes me and she's like, oh, you're not supposed to be bleeding like this. You know what? I'm gonna go get someone else to do the IV. And I was just like, I can feel the tension from my fiance getting upset that, you know, she doesn't know what she's doing. And I was in pain because she poked me, and I don't even know what she did wrong, but whatever she did, it really hurt, and I was bleeding a lot. A lot of blood was coming out. Anyways, someone else came in. She did it properly. It was quick, no blood. IV went in, and I was fine. I think we waited about an hour. They wanted to monitor him for about an hour, my baby. And then Dee and I walked down the hall to where I was going to have my C-section, the surgical room. We sat outside the surgical doors, and you know, we just talked a bit, and I feel like within like a few seconds they called me in. So my fiance actually was not allowed in the room while I was getting my spinal block. I didn't get an epidural. I got a spinal block. He wasn't allowed in the room while that was being done. I know some people have said that their fiance or their loved ones were allowed in the room. For whatever reason, they did not allow him to be there. Thankfully, I had a midwife, or midwives I should say, because I actually have three, or had three. I'm so happy that she was there. I actually knew someone in that room that I was able to talk to. And throughout the whole, you know, putting in the spinal block and blah, 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 she pretty much just kept me calm. She was asking questions about the baby. Was I excited? What's his name? You know, stuff like that, just to kind of keep my mind away from the needle. Because again, I do not like needles. Anyways, I get into the surgical room. I sit down on the bed. I had to undo the back of my gown, and my midwife is standing in front of me, and she tells me, you know, lean your head over. And I kind of had to, you know, bend over like that, but it was really hard because my belly is huge. But that's what I had to do. I had to lean over so that way my spine can open up like this, and that way the needle could fit in between. That's pretty much what I did. I leaned over as much as I could, and my midwife was standing there saying, you know, just ask me different questions, talking to me, so that way I can take my mind off of what was going on behind me. I did not see the needle. I didn't see any of the tools that they were using, thankfully, because I hear that, you know, the needles are fairly big. So for the first thing that they did, or the doctor did, he was actually talking to me too. Before he did anything, or before he touched me, he told me exactly what he was going to do. So he walked me through the entire thing, which was really nice, versus him just touching me or poking me and me like flipping out because I don't like needles. So I remember leaning over, my midwife is talking to me, the doctor is also letting me know what's going on, what he's about to do. The first thing he said, not word for word, but first thing that he talked about was the numbing, I don't know what's called, a numbing agent that he had to use before he put in the spinal block. He injected me with the numbing agent first. I felt it. Didn't really hurt. It felt like a prick. It was very, very mild. I was like, oh, okay, not too bad. But I was getting worried about the spinal blocks. I heard that if you feel that, it's gonna hurt. So the numbing agent went in first. I felt like a little prick, whatever. And then next thing you know, he said, okay, I'm going to put in the spinal block now. You're gonna feel, you know, a warm sensation in your legs. And I was like, okay. So I just leaned over as much as I could. And then he injected the spinal block. I did not feel a thing. I had no idea when he put it in, when he took it out. I had no idea. Thank God. 'Cause I heard it probably would hurt. I didn't feel a thing. So as he's putting in the spinal block, I feel the liquid going down my back. It was very, very odd to feel such a weird sensation. Anyways, I felt that. So the next thing he said while he was doing the spinal block, he said, you're gonna start to feel a warm sensation in your legs. And it took about maybe 5 seconds or so for me to actually feel it. And I felt it in my left leg first, that my left leg was going numb. And it did feel very, very warm. So it's like a warm feeling in one leg, and it was weird. It was like a gradual feeling, like it started in my thigh and it went down to my feet. And then I felt it in the right leg, from my thigh down to my feet, and then I was completely numb. And I didn't really realize I was numb until they had to lift my legs onto the actual bed, because I couldn't do it. There was like, it's so weird when you're numb. Anyone who's ever been numbed, maybe from getting an epidural or something, you know exactly what it feels like to try and move that area that's numb. There's no feeling there, so you don't know what's happening. So anyways, my doctors and my midwife, they lifted my legs onto the surgical bed because I couldn't do it, and then I laid back. And then that's when the OB, the lady who was performing my actual C-section, came in, and another doctor who was assisting her came in. There were so many people in that room. We had the guy who did the actual, you know, numbing and spinal block. We had the OB and her assistant. We had my midwives, and then some other people. There was just too many people in there. But anyways, there's a lot of people. Then my fiance came in. He sat down right beside me. I'm laying down looking up at these huge bright lights. When I say the surgical room looked like a movie, it literally looks like how it is in the movies with these huge bright lights. You really feel like, I felt like I was in a movie, the way the room was set up, and it was kind of scary. So it was my first surgery, so I was definitely nervous, but it was nice that I had, you know, my midwives there, and of course my fiance right beside my head. He came in. I think he said to me, are you okay? How are you feeling or something? I told him I was fine. I didn't feel a thing. And then he was holding my hand the whole time. And that's when the nerves kicked in. I started tapping. I think I was shaking a little bit. I think a lot of people say that they shake, and it's very normal to shake when you do get an epidural or a spinal block. So I was shaking my hand a little bit. I was tapping a lot. I tapped the entire time. Anyways, they put up that blue curtain, and everything just started happening very quickly. They put up the blue curtain. I was numb from the waist down, so I had no idea what they were doing behind the curtain. Couldn't see, couldn't feel. I know my OB, the lady who performed the C-section, she was saying to me, let me know if you feel anything sharp. So my guess is that she started to poke me with a knife, or maybe she was using her finger or something. She just wanted to know if I could feel anything, and I was like, no. I honestly could not feel a thing. I guess at some point they start to cut, and I believe it's about 6 layers that they have to go through to get to your baby. It's a lot of layers. Thankfully, I did not see a thing. I did not feel a thing, because if I did, it would have been a different story. My fiance talked to me throughout the whole thing. He was saying, who do you think he's gonna look like? Yada yada. I think I was saying that I want him to have lots of hair. We were trying to guess his weight. I think I said 8 pounds. I think he said 8.5, something like that. But anyways, we were just having a regular conversation, trying to take our minds off of this whole C-section, because neither one of us wanted this to happen. It was not in the plans at all. Anyways, you know, the doctors are cutting and doing whatever they're doing. One thing I will say is I didn't feel pain, but I did feel pressure. The OB said, okay, you're gonna feel some pressure. You may feel like a tugging or whatever. That's just us taking the baby out. And I was like, okay. I know I had a friend who told me the same thing. You're gonna feel some pressure, because they do push down to get the baby out. So yeah, so that's pretty much what they were doing. Even though I was numb, I was feeling that pressure, but it didn't hurt. It was just a weird feeling. I don't know how to explain it, but they, you know, they would push, so that the baby could kind of slide out, and then you would feel like a tugging. So I did feel my body going like this. It was weird. I want to say the whole thing took maybe 12 minutes from them putting up the curtain, cutting, taking him out, stitching me back up. About 10 or like 15 minutes or so. It was very quick. Eventually they do take him out. You hear like a muted cry. He did have some, I guess, amniotic fluid or whatever inside his mouth. So you can hear him crying, but you can hear that there's something in his mouth. I guess after they suck it out and everything, and then they lift him over the curtain so that Dee and I can see him. And I was like, oh my god, he's so cute. And of course they pull him back. They take him over to a counter. I couldn't see, but I mean, I can hear everything. And then they ask D, my fiance, if he wants to come over and I guess take pictures or something. So he gets up, he lets me know that he's leaving. I think he said, is it okay if I go or something? I was like, yeah. And he leaves, and I just close my eyes and just relax. And at this point, they are, I guess, cleaning me up and stitching me. Again, not feeling a thing, thank God. And I can hear Amari, that's his name. I can hear Amari crying in the background, off to the side, on the right of me, I want to say. And I kind of just waited there. It felt like forever that I was waiting there for D to come back and for them to finish stitching me up. Did D ever come back after that? I think he did. I think he sat down one more time with me. Then they brought Amari to me and kind of rested him on my face, kind of. And that wasn't very long at all. It felt like a few seconds, but who knows, maybe it was a minute, I don't know. They had him on me for a little bit, and then because I had a C-section, I couldn't do skin to skin right away because I was getting stitched up. So D went back to the room and he got to do skin to skin with Amari while I was being taken care of. So D leaves with the nurses or the doctors and he does skin to skin with Amari. I had no idea that was going on actually. It's when I actually got back to the room, I saw that D had his shirt off and Amari was there on his chest. Anyways, they wheeled me back into the room. Of course, I saw them doing skin to skin. They lifted me onto the bed and I kind of just relaxed for a bit. So maybe about after 5 minutes or so, they brought Amari over to me and I had to do skin to skin, which was really nice. I finally got to really hold him and see his face because when we did first see him, he was crying. So his eyes were all squinched up, his face was all angry. So I finally got to see him. Of course I did breastfeed him and he latched like instantly. There was no trouble at all. He just wiggled his way right to my boob. So I breastfed him for maybe 30 minutes or so. I don't even remember how long he was on there for. But I didn't have any milk. Milk wasn't in yet. Usually your milk comes in a few days later. So it's just colostrum. And I was a little bit worried because it was just like little drops of like see-through milk. But the nurses said that it's okay. He only needs like 2-3 drops of this and he'll be fine. Yada yada. And that's pretty much how it went. So overall, I did not like the idea of the C-section. It was not in my plan to have a C-section. But of course, you can plan, and things probably won't go the way that you plan. Some people do get lucky and everything just maps out perfectly, but unfortunately nothing went the way that I wanted it to. He was breech, did not want that, did not plan for that. C-section, did not plan for that. A lot of things didn't go the way I wanted it to go, but that is my labor and delivery story. I'll insert a few photos of Amari so you guys can see what he looks like now and also back then. I will document his journey on here, do monthly updates so you guys can see his growth. But if you really want to see more about him, you can follow us on our vlog channel, Dad's Family. And yeah, so hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will be documenting my tummy journey because after you have a baby, you are left with, you know, a bit of a tummy. Some of us snap back right away, some of us don't. So I want to document my journey on getting my body back to the way it was before, or even better. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you aren't subscribed, make sure you are, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.